So good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Cherney. I'm the president of Tobin Solutions, and happy to be with you here today to talk about Microsoft Teams and some of the new features and things that are out there. So hopefully along the way, whether you're a current Teams user or a new Teams user or thinking about using Teams, hopefully there'll be some things that you learn and discover about it. You can certainly ask questions in the chat along the way. And at the end, we'll also have an opportunity for some Q&A. And then when we're all complete, you will get a survey, and it just takes a couple minutes to complete. And if you can do that, that would be great because your feedback's very valuable. And then you'll also get a copy of the slide deck and a link to the video. So before we jump into Teams, how do you get Teams? Most of you, well, Teams can be actually, I don't think they can be purchased separately anymore. It used to be something you get separately. Now you must have a Microsoft 365 subscription, and then you add extra Teams things on top, although Teams comes with a number of the tiers already. So Microsoft 365, it's the Swiss Army knife of Microsoft technology. A lot of different tools and components that Microsoft 365 gives you, and Microsoft hosts it. They include they manage your data and your applications, and where Tobin Solutions helps is with security, support, migration, administration, integration, and development. You will get Microsoft Teams if you have one of these tiers of service, and note that there have been some price increases. Microsoft did, that's always the concern with cloud, and when you move from on-premise to the cloud, and will they be able to what'll happen if they increase pricing? While they did keep pricing stable for many years, they have started to increase the pricing. So the business basic went from $5 to $6 a month, and the business premium went from $20 to $22 a month. All of those include Microsoft Teams. So what is Microsoft Teams? It is a collaboration platform. It's voicemail, it's video, it's file sharing, it's chatting, it's texting back and forth. It's almost a platform into itself. I think you're going to see more and more companies starting to use Teams. Like that's where they go to get their information, to go things in there. So hopefully you've had a chance to start to play with it. If not, you'll start to hear more about it. Some of the other features about Teams, one is, first of all, it works anywhere on any device. So whether you have a PC or a Mac or an iOS or an Android device, you will be able to use Teams, which is great. Within Teams, you can organize your information into teams and channels, which we'll talk about. And you can do one-to-one chats or group chats. You can do voice video calls. You can share and work with files, and you can integrate with applications. So it's pretty robust for collaboration. A little bit of what it looks like, and I admit some of these screenshots are a bit dated. They keep changing what Microsoft looks like, it seems, every month with new icons and things like that. And oops, let's get jumped ahead here. So you've got what Teams looks like. So if you look at the first area on the left side here, you'll see, whoops, why does it keep jumping ahead? You'll see the different teams that are available. And then within the teams, you'll see everything that's going on over there. You'll see on the right side, when you've got that team or channel selected, what's available. You'll be able to chat back and forth. You'll be able to share documents back and forth, all from inside the desktop or Windows, or the on your phone or tablet. So a little bit about how Teams is organized. So a team, it's that collection of people. Oh my gosh, I got some kind of timing something turned on here. I got to turn off. Sorry about that. Something came along with this copy of the presentation that I grabbed. So the team is a collection of people, conversations, files, and tools, and it's all in one place. So you might have a team. It could be your whole company, could be the team. This starts to get into how you want to organize things. And then within that, you could organize it into channels. So a great example would be something like your marketing team. Maybe you've got your marketing team and you've got everybody in there, but you want to start to organize within the marketing team. Maybe you've got the option to break that down further into a channel for just dealing with your website, or a channel just dealing with your printed materials, or a channel just dealing with your social media. And so that's a way to further coordinate and organize your information between the teams and the channels. One of the things people are doing with Teams is they are using it for files and collaboration. So within Teams and in those channels, you can actually have a place where you can put your documents. Now, the documents aren't actually stored in Teams, and I want to make that really clear because that becomes complex for people. They see it in Teams, and it's natural to think the documents are in Teams. The documents are actually not in Teams. They're most likely stored in SharePoint or OneDrive, which are Microsoft file storage services. But you can also have it store documents in other places like Dropbox and Box and ShareFile. So while you reference the documents there and you can open and close them from there, they're actually stored elsewhere. The benefit of once they're up in one of those areas, especially in OneDrive or SharePoint, is you can do what's called co-authoring of documents. That's where you can take the documents and be in them at the same time and be editing them, which is really handy before a meeting or anything you're working on, to be able to be in at the same time and not have to worry about people getting out and all of that. Chatting. So this is a very popular feature of Teams. It's probably one of the first things people start to do with Teams as they start to chat back and forth. You may be doing this already with your phone. You may be doing this with your texting back and forth with your Android or iOS phone. That may be useful. Why this is maybe a little, I'll call it better, is first of all, the chats are stored with the channel and team that you've got. So it's easy to go find the chat that's specific to the conversation that you're actually having. It's also persistent, meaning if you add somebody to a chat afterwards as part of a team, they'll be able to go in and see all of those prior messages in the prior chat history. So that's helpful if that's what you want. And it gives you some control from a security perspective. If somebody leaves your organization, and all the messaging that they have is in their texts back and forth, and they leave, you can't get that back, right? This actually allows you to keep your data with you for what you do. Another great thing with Teams is voice and video calls. This was like Teams along with Zoom was super helpful when COVID hit and people were working remotely, and that was the ability to do voice and video calls. So you can do a one-to-one voice and video call. So if you're in Teams and you want to call somebody, you can just simply, hit the phone icon and start doing a call, or hit the video camera icon and start to do a video call. You can do either or. You can meet now. You can schedule them. You can even invite guests. So it's really handy for that. You can also do it right from within Outlook. So when you're in Outlook and you start to create the meeting, at the top, you'll have a Teams meeting icon. You click that, and it's automatically going to link the Teams meeting to this from Outlook, automatically get that set up so everyone knows it's a Teams meeting. So that's a handy feature. There's also an audio conferencing add-on. So this was something that was a differentiator initially between Zoom and Microsoft Teams. When people got Zoom, not only did they get the ability to do a voice and video conference, but they also got those dial-in numbers. Microsoft had that as an optional thing, and it still is. So it's $4 per user per month. That's not the same thing as a full phone conferencing. This is more to give that extra phone number for people that want to dial into your conference calls that are outside your organization or that don't have good internet access where they're at. So that's an add-on if you're looking to add that. There's also the Microsoft Teams phone with calling plan. And I see some of the names on here. I know you have Microsoft, some of you have Microsoft Voice. Microsoft's changing that up a little bit. They're coming up with, so they call it Teams phone with calling plan. So with Teams Phone, what do you get? You get a full cloud-based phone system with all the advanced features you'd expect in a modern phone system: voicemail, call transfer, auto attendance, call queues, and more. There's a long list of features. If you're thinking about going to that, to Microsoft Teams Phone, you'll want to look and make sure that the features match what you need. Another nice thing with Teams, as we said before, is you can use it from any device. So if you have Teams installed on your brand new iPhone and you've got your brand new AirPods and you want to use that as your phone for making and receiving calls with Teams, you can absolutely use that. If you've got a headset and you want to do what you've got with your PC or your Mac, you can do that as well. But if you like the traditional phone, you can also add those. And there's a number of companies that make some phones that are specific for Teams, that have great Teams integration, pretty plug and play. And you can mix and match, which is nice. So, and you can transfer between the devices. So for some people, we have some clients that are using Microsoft Teams and the calling features, and they're just going to be using their PCs and their smartphones. We've got some that want to do a mixture, and some that are going all desktop phones. So you can mix and match. It's $15 per month with domestic calling plan. And you also get inbound numbers, so everyone gets their own private phone number, but you can also port your public phone number and your other phone numbers over to Teams if you want to do that. So you get the opportunity to bring all your phone numbers. You don't lose those as part of it like you'd expect. So yeah, we've got some of our clients who are using this, and for the most part, they're pretty satisfied with it. And one thing that's nice about it, it's all integrated with your existing security you have with Microsoft 365. So it's the same application you use for everything, and it's the same ID and password and security that you set up. So it's one less thing to manage from that perspective. Another great feature within Teams is the ability to share your desktop. So you can be in a meeting with somebody. I think we're mostly familiar with that now. That's kind of what I'm doing right now, is I'm sharing part of my desktop here using Zoom, but you can share your desktop. You can share the whole desktop, or you can share a specific window. And that's really great for training purposes. It's really great when you're doing document review. You know, I think, again, we've all pretty much experienced sharing your desktop lately, and that's a great feature of Teams that you've got. Guest access. So you do not need a Microsoft Teams license to use Teams if you're a guest. So you can invite people. They will need the application or a compatible web browser to use Teams, just like a lot of applications. But they don't need a specific license. You can invite them. They'll get the link. They'll be able to go in and use that. But you can even have them not only come in for your calls, but they can see your documents if you want to set that up. They can see that chat back and forth. So we have some clients that are using Teams that way, where they're collaborating with their customers, with their partners, internally. Of course, that doesn't require guest access, but the idea is you're not just limited to people inside your organization. You can start to use Teams with other people that are outside. Breakout rooms, that was another newer feature that Microsoft added last year, the year before. The ability, when you've got a larger conference going on, you've got multiple people coming in a meeting, that you can do those breakout rooms. So there's some basic ways of doing that, which is handy. I think we've all been in those breakout rooms in Zoom, and Microsoft has those as well. So those are great if you're doing any presentations or anything. Got the ability to do that. You can also join on a second device. That was a newer feature that got added. We see it a lot with Zoom, where someone will join on one device and then join on a second. Microsoft allows you to do the same thing now. So if you're on one device, and maybe that device, maybe you got a desktop computer that doesn't have a camera or a microphone, but you want to share your desktop from that, you can join from your smartphone and then use your camera and microphone from that, so people can see and hear you, but still share your desktop. So that's a handy feature. You can also record your calls in Teams, which is great. Great for follow-up, great for training, great for documenting things. All you have to do is, while you're in the meeting, tap the ellipsis at the top, go down and hit start recording, and it'll automatically save it to your OneDrive. You'll have that copy of the recording that you can share and use and review for later. There's live polls. So there's a Microsoft Forms application that we've talked about on previous webinars. And as I mentioned, Teams integrates with other Microsoft technologies and other third-party technologies. So rather than Teams creating its own poll application, they just say, hey, we'll let the Microsoft Forms one come in. So you go into Add Microsoft Forms app, you click the Polls tab, you create a new poll, and you can go in and do that. So this is fun for meetings, for gathering information. Nice to increase the engagement in meetings as well. And then, of course, it saves all of that in Microsoft Forms for being able to follow up on the information. I was saying before, you can integrate applications with Teams, so not just Microsoft applications. You are probably using other third-party applications that may already have integration with Microsoft Teams. So maybe you use, a great example would be like Dropbox. So you can have Dropbox integration. You can bring that into Teams and see those documents without having to copy them into Teams. You can expose that, what's available in that service from that. You can see there's a few here like Trello for project management, but there's hundreds of them and more being added all the time. Microsoft Teams is becoming a very popular platform to be used by many companies all over, and you're starting to see the third-party integration follow as well. You see some of that with Zoom as well. You're starting to see third-party application integration, more of that, and Teams is no different. This is kind of a nice feature with Teams, is this ability to create a request and an approval process. So inside of Microsoft Teams, if you add the approvals application, you can then create and send a new approval from the approvals hub or from a chat, and then you get this basic workflow approval. And you get the notifications along the way. So this is really great, right? Because Teams is about collaboration. It's about working together on these things. So a lot of times when you're working together, you want to delegate something to somebody and you say, hey, I want you to update this report. And then when you're done, let me take a look at it so I can, give it my final review. There's a way of doing that right now. So instead of tracking down emails and sending things back and forth that way, you can simply reference it in Teams and use the approval request. So this is a real simple version of it. There's more that can be done with it. But if you're trying to track document changes, if you're trying to track where things flow inside your organization, this could be a perfect place to do that. And there's all kinds of custom applications and integrations you can do. Like I said, you can integrate existing applications. There goes my thing forwarding again. You've got built-in technology that's built into Microsoft 365. So it's almost like, you think about process, maybe take a moment, and what could you invent? What is there something? Where is there something, if you think about like, when you think about systems and processes in an organization, right? There's kind of what we call the why, what, and how of it. Right? The why, you might do a particular process. We want to have our proposal process impeccable because, it's how our clients view us, and we want them to have the utmost confidence in our proposals and clarity around our proposals. So that would be kind of the why. The what might be, you're going to do it in Microsoft Word, you're going to do this, and then you get into the how of it, and that's where you start to get into some of the integration. You get into the automation, right? Because we all have these systems that we create. The real value with leveraging technology is being able to use those to automate those processes, to automate those systems, to make them go faster, to do more with less, to increase accountability, to reduce errors, right? There's a lot of things you're probably doing manually. You might be able to automate some of that with Teams and other Microsoft technologies that are in there. So one of the services Tobin offers is to sit down with you and just review some of your processes, understand what they are, and then look for those opportunities to customize and to automate. So if you've got something that's taking longer than you think, that has lots of errors in it, this might be a great opportunity to look at that. A few other nice features. So you can email to a channel inside of Microsoft Teams. So if you click on the ellipsis, you say get email address, and then you fill out the rest here of where that email address can be used. Now, anytime you use that email address, either internally or externally, it's going to automatically email that to a channel. So that can be really handy, right? Because a lot of times we're getting emails in, let's say for a client, and then we get into that email back and forth internally. Where is this at? What's happening? This way, the client, they email. From their perspective, it's just a standard email. Now it gets right into Teams where we can do our internal work on it. So it's a nice little bit of automation that's there. You have something called Microsoft Whiteboard. So that's actually a separate application that Microsoft developed. It is a standalone application, and it's a virtual whiteboard that we, just like a traditional whiteboard, but it's online. So this is handy when you're in a meeting. You've got templates, people can draw, people can add pictures, they can all do it simultaneously. They can go in and create this. So if you're in a brainstorming session, you're coming up with some ideas, problem solving, you want everybody in there, you want them to all be able to contribute in different ways. This allows them to be able to go in and contribute just as if you had a whiteboard, a physical whiteboard in your office. So that's built in as a, not built into Teams, it's an application you can add into any Teams meeting. You can just go in and create a whiteboard in there. And then the whiteboard can be used from all the applications, including phones and tablets as well. This is a feature I love. I've started to use this personally, sharing an email to Teams. So, you know, right now, if we get an email from a client and they're not emailing it directly to Teams, but I want to start going back and forth and chatting about an email, and it just becomes more emails to manage. So what you can do is when you've got the email, you say share to Teams. And then on the right side, you'll see the window. It'll automatically copy that email in for you, including any attachments. And now you can go back and forth with your chats and conversations. You know, it doesn't go into Outlook. It all goes into here. But you've got all of that information here rather than managing a bunch of emails that are back and forth chats about a particular email. So some people really like this. This is kind of a handy feature. And then you can use all the Teams features that are available with that. So that's a handy thing. If you find yourself doing a lot of email back and forth about a particular email, try this out. We're moving quickly today. Open previously visited locations. So this is, again, a handy thing. Part of Teams is getting into how the interface works. You can kind of drill in and you see different screens, and it's kind of easy to get lost of where you're at. It kind of works a little bit like a web browser. So instead, if you go in the upper here and you click the history menu, you'll be able to jump right to any area of Teams you were previously working on, rather than just hitting the back button. So that's handy if you're a big Teams user. And Microsoft Teams security. Tobin Solutions, we're security strong, security first organization. Oh, gosh. So there is something to security around this. You know, this is one of the challenges with any new technology that comes out. People want to jump in and start using it. And then afterwards, they find out, oh, I want to start adding some security around it. Now, there's a lot of security built into Teams, but the way you organize your teams, the way you organize your channels, the permissions you give to people to do certain things, what you do with guests, those are all things inside of security. So if you're going to be rolling this out, we invite you to come take a look with us and just kind of review your security and make sure that it's matching what you want, so you don't inadvertently expose something that you didn't want to expose. And that's really it. This was a fast webinar. So there was a couple questions that came through that were directly to me. I'll answer those offline. There were a couple of technical questions inside of Teams, so thanks for those questions. But yeah, that's mostly about Teams. So any other questions? Anything, anybody? Wait, is there a? Yeah, no, I think we covered everything. Got all the new features. Yeah, so short presentation today. We've been using it. We have more clients using it. It's a real, especially if they're moving to from their old phone system and they want to move to something like Microsoft Teams. That's been working out really well. And well, any other questions? Anything you'd like to ask about Teams? All right. So if that's what it is, that kind of wraps this up. Then we'll start to close out the meeting here. If you've got anything specific you'd like, feel free to reach out to me directly. If you'd like to talk about other things or you think this would be a great presentation inside your organization, maybe there are some things with any around security or around Teams or around something else inside of Microsoft 365, be delighted to come in and present that for you. Otherwise, thanks so much.